Right, hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a slightly different kind of video than we usually do. Today I have up a game of Civilization 7, which I've kind of artificially put together to show off something that I think is really cool about this game. If you know me in real life, you know I like strategy video games, and if you know me here or in real life, you know I love Egyptian history. And Civ 7 is a new game, just came out at time of recording about a week ago. And in Civilization, for those of you who don't know, part of the premise is you're selecting a country and you are playing them through history. In Civ 7, that country now changes throughout the course of the game. You're going to go from one country in the ancient world to one in the exploration age, which is kind of like from 500 to 1500, and then one country in the modern world. And one of your ancient options is ancient Egypt. Makes sense. It's a classic country. You get a lot of people are interested in Egypt. It's kind of iconic as an ancient civilization, such as it is. And in Civilization, in pretty much all of the modern Civ games, so the early ones didn't have this, civilizations get unique units, among other bonuses. I could talk later, if people are interested, I'd be happy to do it, about my opinions on Egypt's other bonuses, which I also think are great and very well done. But one of Egypt's unique units in this game is called the Tjaty. A Tjaty, specifically in the game, is a civilian unit that you can build. So it's not a soldier or anything, and you can build each type, or each Tjaty maybe 10, the Tjaty maybe 10 times over total. And each time you get it, you get a different guy. There are 10 different ones that each have a different bonus that you activate once and it gives you something. This is reflective of a real position that existed in the Egyptian government, the Tjaty, and its role. And I want to kind of go through these people. Who are they? What was the job of the Tjaty? Who are the historical figures that are represented? So first of all, what is a Tjaty exactly? Who are these guys that we are representing here? You can see I have a few of them walking around. I actually have every single one spawned in. I have made this game so that I could recruit every single Tjaty, and for no other purpose. I also built the pyramids because I kind of had to. But there's nothing else really going on in this game, like organically. So the Tjaty was the highest official of the Egyptian government, right below the pharaoh on the hierarchy, but above pretty much everybody else. That's pretty much the only constant we get with the Tjaty position in Egyptian history. It shows up very early. There is a guy on the Narmer palette with the characters Ch and T next to his name. He might be a Tjaty. He might not. We don't really know. It might also just be his name. Also, the word Tjaty comes from very probably a word meaning to carry or to bear. It may have evolved from a position of someone who carried the pharaoh's sandals, or perhaps his scepter or something like that. Someone who had a role to play in helping the pharaoh in his daily life, that became an advisory role, that became this sort of bureaucratic functionary. Also, I think I buried the lead a little bit. In English, the word Tjaty is oftentimes translated as vizier, and that's how you'll usually see it talked about in Egyptological literature and in popular culture. This is kind of weird because viziers were not a thing in Egypt. Vizier is a word that comes from, I think it comes from Persian originally, and the primary experience that the European world had with the title of vizier was through the Ottoman Empire. The vizier of the Ottoman Empire was the most important official of the kingdom, or the empire. He was just below the sultan and extremely instrumental in the bureaucracy and the decision-making of the empire. And in fact, the Tjaties of Egypt did play kind of a similar role, but vizier is a weird word because it's very specific to the Ottoman Empire. It's kind of Orientalist to say that well, okay, but all the empires in the Middle East are the same, because they aren't. They're different things. And the Tjaty was on some level different than the Ottoman vizier. Different authors use different terms for this position. Some people like chancellor, some people like prime minister. I think these terms are fine. I am going to use Tjaty here. I wouldn't necessarily even use it in academic writing. I might. We'll see. I'm going to be doing, if cards fall correctly, I might be doing a lot of work on these guys in the future. But for right now, I'm not picking a favorite translation, nor am I sticking with the conventional but very Orientalist vizier. I am going to be calling them Tjaties for the rest of the video. The Tjaty was a position that is kind of a constant through Egyptian history. Anytime there's anything even resembling a stable pharaonic government, there are Tjaties who are doing things, helping out that stable pharaonic government, or unstable government for that matter. There are periods like the 13th dynasty where it seems like these guys are running the country while the pharaohs themselves are having difficulty consolidating power and remaining stable. It's the Tjaties who, and their other major officials, who are actually running things. The job of a Tjaty fundamentally is to oversee all the major activities of the government. What the precise activities fell under the purview of the Tjaty would have changed quite a bit over time. Ideally, it was almost all of it, but in various periods, so like in the New Kingdom, for example, there is perhaps a limited extent to which the Tjaty, and I can't speak to the specifics, I haven't done enough reading on it to really do that, but there were other very important officials like the high priest of Amun, like the king's son of Kush, the ruler of Nubia, effectively, and some of the supreme army commanders who amassed substantial power on their own, which kind of implies a level of independence. Which officials were directly under the Tjaty's purview, which ones were reporting through basically other government departments to the pharaoh, that would have changed a lot over time. It's a position that existed for thousands of years. Think about how much your British history, how much the position of prime minister has changed between Robert Walpole basically inventing it in the early 1700s and the future development of the current prime minister. Keir Starmer is doing a very different job than Robert Walpole was doing. Things have changed a lot, and they will continue to change, and that's how it was with the Tjaties as well. But pretty much anytime they're showing up, they are the most important guys in the bureaucracy of the country that they're in. So, that very general overview, because I don't want to spend this whole video getting into the specifics of period by period. I think people who are watching this, probably a lot of them coming in. I'm hoping I can draw some people in who are interested because they're interested in the game and not necessarily in the finer points of Egyptian administration. If people are interested in the finer points of Egyptian administration, by the way, please leave a comment. I will make a video on it if at least 2 people say, please tell me actually a breakdown of how this worked period by period and read the 8 or 9 articles and book that would be required to do that. I'd be happy to, but you have to tell me that. Otherwise, I will spend my work time doing other stuff. Anyway, let's go through these 10 Tjaty. We're going to break them down. Who were they? What do they do for you in the game? I'm not necessarily going to rate whether what they do for you is good or bad. There are only 9. There may only be 9. I may have been saying there are 10 and there are only 9 now that I'm counting all the little guys on my screen. But I'm not going to rate which one's the best one for you to roll because it's Imhotep. But I'm going to talk about why they are what they are, and if I think that makes any sense for their life careers. No, there are 10. Okay, good. I just missed a guy because he was hiding in the woods. All right, cool. So we're just going to move through all the guys that I've hanging around my capital, and we're going to see who they are and what they do for us. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed the jump in footage here. That is because I needed to go double check all of my facts and my sources on who the viziers are, which admittedly for some of these guys is kind of cursory because the less important and famous guys I know less about preemptively, and I will freely admit that again, this is a video intended as a basic overview. With one exception, I do not do deep dives into their tombs or anything like that. But that being said, here we are. We're going to go through all these guys, talk about their effects, why they are what they are, and does the gameplay correlate to who they were. And we're going to start with this guy, Ramosa. You can see him here in his nice broad collar and his wig. Let's see. Oh, yeah, let's walk him around. Let's get a better angle. All these viziers, they have you got the guy in the middle and then some helpers on the sides. The skins are kind of interesting. Oh, actually, I'm going to comment on that. This guy's wearing a pharaonic crown on the left. That's super weird. Why is the pharaoh helping the vizier? But Ramos' outfit is really good. This is a nice, good, classical New Kingdom outfit. Maybe it's a little Ramesside. And Ramos is not Ramesside. Ramos belongs to the 18th dynasty. He was a vizier of Amenhotep III, the Sun King, as he is sometimes called, the predecessor to Akhenaten. His tomb art is actually quite nice. It's reasonably well preserved, and it gives us a good view of the distinction between Amarna art and like classical Egyptian art. He's kind of at the boundary of those two. Things are getting more Amarna-y. So if you know your Egyptian art history, that means they are becoming more, fingers are getting longer, bodies are getting more stretched out proportionally as part of the transition into the tumultuous and very different reign of Akhenaten. Ramos's ability adds gold to wonders. That has nothing to do with his career. He wasn't like a merchant or like a really accomplished treasurer or something, at least not in particular, such that would make sense. There are guys where I would believe that this is the kind of thing that they could do. There were Egyptians who really probably did make a lot of money. Money here in quotation marks, because money had not been invented, but Ramos is not one of them. He's just in here because his tomb is kind of famous. Then we have Usur Amun. Usur Amun is a vizier of earlier in the 18th dynasty. He's the son of another one of our guys, Akhmoza, who we'll meet soon, and whose name is misspelled in the game, which does bother me quite a bit, actually. Usur Amun's ability adds culture to wonders on a settlement. I checked. Usur Amun has nothing in his career titles that would indicate this. He's just here again as a representative of he's an 18th dynasty Tjaty. He's just a guy. I apologize that I've said vizier a couple times out of habit. I'm trying not to, but it is easy to, because that's the standard thing. But I am trying to say Tjaty here. Usur Amun is wearing a pharaonic crown for some reason. So are the two people next to him. The guy on his left is wearing a really nice leopard pelt, though. That is some classic ancient Egyptian priest garb. We do love a good leopard pelt. And on the right, broad collar, the white crown of Upper Egypt for some reason, but a really nice kilt. So some of their design choices I really like, and some of them do not make any sense to me and just feel like vague Egyptian nonsense. Then we have Ptah-hotep. Ptah-hotep can walk over here for a moment so we can take a look at him. Ptah-hotep is one of the most famous Tjaty of Egypt that we have. Almost any student of ancient Egyptian history will be familiar with him, not for his acts, but for a text that was attributed to him, the Maxims of Ptah-hotep. And in fact, in the game, Ptah-hotep creates a unique codex called the Maxims of Ptah-hotep. Codexes are a thing in the ancient era in Civilization 7. They are units that they are great works that give you science and advance you towards getting the science legacy path. That gives you some bonuses going into the exploration age for your science. Ptah-hotep, or the Maxims of Ptah-hotep, rather, are an early example of a genre called wisdom literature or instruction literature, Sabaite in Egyptian. Specifically, the instructional literature is called Sabaite, not all wisdom literature. It consists of a series of instructions, a list of sort of paragraph-long pieces of advice. Things like, don't mistreat people who are beneath you. If you are in court, remain silent and kind of let the other guy sputter himself out while you look really good in comparison. Consider really well what you're saying. Make sure to listen carefully to what other people are talking about before you speak. Stuff like that. It's pretty good life advice, most of it. Some of it's pretty particular to its time, but it's a decent work. I recommend reading it, honestly. If you're here, you're probably interested in ancient history. Maxim of Ptah-hotep, you can read it in 30 minutes, and you'll get an idea of what idealized Egyptian court life is like. Ptah-hotep didn't write it. Ptah-hotep lived during the Old Kingdom. I think during either the late 4th or early 5th dynasty. The text of the Maxims of Ptah-hotep is in Middle Egyptian, a language that was spoken several hundred years after he lived. But Ptah-hotep had a reputation, probably earned in some way through good acts as vizier, as Tjaty, my apologies, that resulted in him being the kind of guy you would attribute a later book of sayings to. So you know how like you read a fake quote online, especially if you read to Albert Einstein or Ben Franklin, because they're known as being really intelligent people. That's kind of who Tahotep was for the ancient Egyptians. They gave him wise sayings because he was the kind of guy who had the reputation for saying wise stuff. Then we have Hemiunu. Hemiunu gives a medium amount of production to a wonder. You can see him here in the middle, wearing what looks like, I can't quite, oh yeah, it's a tight-fitting gold or blue cap. This is all like substantially better civilian Egyptian garb over here. The guy's in the right with the head wrappings, right and left with the head wrappings, and then Hemiunu himself. Hemiunu, his bonus really does go well with him also. He was the architect behind the Great Pyramid. Great Pyramid, you can see right over here. He was the vizier under King Khufu who built the pyramid, and his bonus to help you build a wonder makes perfect sense. He built a wonder in real life. He gets to help you build a wonder in the video game. I like that quite a lot. I think he works pretty well. He's a little less prominent than maybe one of our other architects that we're going to talk about, but he gets that bonus in too. Then you have Nebet. Nebet's kind of a cool historical figure. I actually hadn't known about her before this game, so I'm rather grateful for Civ for showing this off because she's pretty neat. She is a female Tjaty. She is the only one until the 26th dynasty to have been a woman. But she was indeed. She was the aunt and possible mother-in-law. Or no, she's the mother-in-law and possible aunt of Pharaoh Pepi. I don't remember if it was Pepi the First or Pepi the Second, but she was mid-6th dynasty. Her bonus immediately starts a celebration, which is this game's equivalent of a golden age. It will give you an extra policy slot, give you some various bonuses. She's pretty powerful. It doesn't have anything to do with what she did. There's no like real life correlation to a celebration, really. Maybe you could actually give it to, I think it's either, is it Ramosa or is it Usur Amun? No, it's one of the later ones. We'll get to them in a minute. Who is known to have like helped Ramses II celebrate one of his Sed festivals, but you know, Nebet has nothing really to do with that. But she's a really cool historical figure. I'm glad she's here. It's kind of a neat fact. Then we have, quote, Amhoza, which is really Ahmoza. That's his actual name. But, you know, why let a little thing like what the guy's name is get in the way of a good naming convention? Can we rotate our camera? We can rotate our camera. Okay. Oh, that's a shame. Let's walk him a little ways so we can get a better look, maybe. He's wearing the war crown for some reason. That I really do not get. But he's a vizier of the early New Kingdom. He is Usur Amun's father. Ahmoza was a ridiculously popular name in the early New Kingdom for both men and women. Like, most members of the royal family were named Ahmoza. You have, like, Pharaoh Ahmoza, who is a very important pharaoh. He's the guy who reunifies the New Kingdom, but his mother was named Ahmoza, and also his daughter-in-law was named Ahmoza, Nefertari. Then there's, like, several others, too. It's kind of frustrating to put together. His bonus gives +3 culture to your palace, which means to your capital city. That's fine, but again, I have no idea why he does this. Like, it's kind of an arbitrary choice. It is a bonus that works well with what Egypt's trying to do, but like, I don't understand why he's doing it, you know? But yeah, he himself mostly notable for having been an early New Kingdom Tjaty. Then we have Imhotep. Imhotep is the most famous of the Tjaty of Egypt ever. He is the guy who built the Step Pyramid of Djoser. Well, he's the architect who designed it and ordered it built. It was built by like thousands of farmers. This makes him the first person that we know of to construct a monumental building of stone. That is a real big accomplishment. It's rare that we like know the actual name of the person responsible for one of these great human achievements. But this is a situation where we actually get to know that. All right, we're on take 3. The computer crashed last time, but I believe in our ability to get this one done, to round out the last ones. Thank you to OBS for not deleting the footage the previous time. We only have a couple more to go. Let's hope we can make it work. So, First of all, and for some reason this time Civ is laggy. I also don't know why that is. I apologize if this bothers anyone. We have Passer. Passer is another very common New Kingdom name. It literally means like the noble one. It comes up all the time. Passer is a third Tjaty who has this bonus where like he helps build a wonder. Passer is an interesting choice for this, but it is actually kind of reasonable. He was in charge, or at least in some way related, to the building of the city of Firaxis, the new capital that Ramses II built for himself. By the way, giving a tour about Ramses II on February the 23rd via World Virtual Tour. So assuming I get this video edited in time for that, which I'd like to, come check it out. Anyway, Passer, instrumental in the building of this new city, gives a bonus for building wonders. That's fine, I think. Then we have our last but not least, our two military Tjaty. These guys both get bonuses that help soldiers, and I think this is because of their background. Chai, he was originally a troop commander, or no, he was the son of a troop commander. And his bonus is to give you 2 Magi, which are Egyptian unity. He's another New Kingdom Tjaty. And then one last one, also from the New Kingdom, is Aparel. Aparel is a weird name. It's not an Egyptian name. As written in Egyptian, it's like Akbaria, which is, yeah, that's not an Egyptian name at all. What is probably hiding behind this name is the Semitic name Abdiel. This name is still around, by the way. If you know anybody named Abdullah, that's the Arabic version of like the Canaanite Abdiel. El was the chief god of the Canaanite pantheon. Later on in Judaism, he becomes merged with the local god of Judah and Israel and becomes the supreme, like, singular monotheistic deity. Similarly, in Islam, the name Allah comes from the same root. El and Allah are the same deity, and Allah is the name of the monotheistic god in Islam. And Aparel is Abdi El, which means servant of El. So Aparel, probably a Canaanite of some flavor, a Syrian or something like that. Syrian. He was not Assyrian. They had Akkadian names, totally different. What Aparel does is he makes you some chariots when you activate him. And this makes sense. Aparel was actually promoted up from a commandant of the chariotry. He may have been like an allied Syrian chariot warrior or part of a family of them that got integrated into the Egyptian administration. And that bonus represents pretty well, I think, what he did. And I'm going to go through and make sure we didn't miss anybody. There's Imhotep. We did him. We did Tahotep. We did Akhmosa, here called Amhosa. Yep, okay, I think we have everybody. So, thank you all for watching. This is the first video that I'm actually going to have to edit because it took me several takes to do it right and not have my computer crash on me and whatnot. Thank you for sticking around. I really hope you enjoy this. If you want me to talk more about Egypt in Civ or about the particulars of the ancient Egyptian administration, these are both things I'm really happy to talk about, but I need to know what you want. So please leave comments telling me so that I invest my resources and my very finite time as a graduate student in doing it, because I like doing stuff like this, but it's very much the side gig. I am so busy. But thank you all for watching. I hope you had fun, and I will hopefully see you around later.